Ladies and gentlemen, today is the day. As of this morning, the dam has officially burst. And now we are finally beginning to see some big name criminal justice get dispensed. Specifically this morning, numerous criminal federal indictments have just gotten sent out by President Trump's Department of Justice. Folks, now criminal charges are officially on the table. I think you're going to like today's little segment here. Let's go ahead and start breaking it all down. Big news coming out this morning. Ex-FBI director, the infamous James Comey, has officially, as of this morning, been indicted again by the United States Department of Justice. These are federal criminal charges that are now being levied. To be clear, what does indicted mean? Federal criminal charges have now been levied by the DOJ against ex-FBI director James Comey. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a couple reports breaking down exactly what's going on here, why this is happening, and what exactly these federal criminal charges are. Let's go ahead and break it all down. Take a look at this one first.
CNN, the Department of Justice has indicted former FBI Director James Comey for a second time. Kristen Holmes is live at the White House with more. Kristen, we should let our viewers know for context, he was previously indicted in September of last year on federal charges of making false statements and obstruction of justice related to his testimony. Those charges were later dropped, in part because the judge ruled that the interim U.S. attorney who brought them lacked authority to do so. But now we're learning that the administration has now sought charges against Comey again.
That's right, and that he was indicted a second time by the Justice Department. We do not know what these charges are. Just when it comes to what you were referring to, one of the things that we had heard from inside the White House, inside the Trump Justice Department, had been this idea that even though the judge said that he was throwing out the charges, that they could bring additional charges later because of the fact that it was all about that interim attorney, Lindsay Halligan. There was a belief inside of the Trump administration and inside the White House that they would be bringing charges again. And I can tell you from talking to people who are close to President Trump, this was somewhat of a priority for him. He wanted charges brought against James Comey. Obviously, the two of them have had an acrimonious relationship. He was the FBI director under President Trump.
Well, this is a priority for all of us, CNN, not just President Trump. Comey needs to be held accountable for everything he did. Now, as a reminder, they are right. Criminal charges, a DOJ indictment was first thrown against Comey, 8 or 9 months ago, whenever it was. Why did they fall through? Well, we're going to talk about this more in a couple minutes. Pam Bondi, who was the attorney general at the time, chose, you got to wonder why, Pam Bondi chose a temporary interim attorney, U.S. attorney, to levy these charges, this indictment against Comey a couple months ago. And because she was an interim attorney and not permanent. See, you have to get sworn in through Congress. The Senate has to sign off on you. Otherwise, you can't really do your job. And so it's almost like Pam Bondi picked someone who wasn't actually legitimate to throw this indictment at Comey, maybe knowing that it would get tossed out. Well, Pam Bondi's gone. And now we have another indictment. We are back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so back. Now, CNN here said that they don't know what this indictment is about. We actually do. Breaking news, Fox News reports that former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted again in relation to his 8647 seashell post on Instagram last year. What does this mean? You might remember this. Comey, on his Instagram page, his personal Instagram page, posted an image that said 8647. What does that mean? This is code language or sort of slang for saying that the president, 47, should be killed. 86 means to kill. So this was effectively a death threat from Comey against Trump. And that's what this is about. We have a breakdown here.
Has indicted former FBI Director James Comey for a second time. Justice correspondent David Spunt's got the story. He's here in Washington. Hey, David, they're going to go at it again.
John, they're going at it again, not even a year after they went at it after the first time. We're told this via several law enforcement sources. We're told this is related to an Instagram post from the former FBI director last year when he posted on the beach. You may remember there was a formation of shells that said 8647 that were in that pairing of 8647, and he said something along the lines of, "Isn't this a curious formation that I just found while walking on the beach?" Well, critics to that post immediately pointed out that 86, at least in the restaurant world, means to get rid of or to kill something from a menu, 47 meaning the 47th president of the United States. So Comey did speak with the Secret Service, did speak with federal investigators. At the time he was interviewed last spring or early last summer, shortly after that happened, no charges were ever filed, but now it appears that he has been indicted today. We're working to learn more about the indictment. We're waiting to see if officials have anything to say on this. That is the post that you see right there, "Cool shell formation on my beach walk," from former director James Comey. Now, you also remember that he was indicted last year as well for allegedly lying to Congress.
And he did. And what I've heard is that is actually a part of this as well. It's not only about this mysterious shell formation, it's also now those charges are being brought back up, lying to Congress still on the table. But now, folks, we just now got the news that disgraced former FBI Director James Comey now faces as many as 20 years in federal prison, and an arrest warrant has been issued for him because he threatened the life of President Trump. Take a listen to this.
District of North Carolina returned an indictment against James Comey on 2 counts. The first count is that on or about May 15th of last year, he knowingly and willfully making a threat to take the life of and to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States. Count 2, same day, May 15th, 2025, that the defendant, James Comey, knowingly and willfully transmitting in interstate commerce a communication that contained a threat to kill the President of the United States. Both of these counts carry a maximum term of imprisonment of 10 years. So I think it's fair to say that threatening the life of anybody,
especially the president, unacceptable. Ladies and gentlemen, it has finally happened. Now we are set, insofar as James Comey goes, to finally see criminal accountability, a warrant for his arrest, maximum 20 years in prison. Folks, I am so happy that these swamp beasts, members of the deep state, anti-American subversives like Comey, whatever you want to call people like this, that they are finally getting held accountable. The days during which people like this got to undermine and destroy and subvert our country with complete and total impunity, doing whatever they wanted, thinking that they're better than us, that they can do whatever the hell they want, those days have come to an end. But you know what? On that note, this actually, regarding Comey, isn't the only federal criminal indictment that we got a hold of this morning. Like I said, Trump's DOJ this morning has gone into hyperdrive. Take a look at this. The Department of Justice this morning has similarly issued a federal criminal indictment for a man named David Morens, a former senior advisor to Dr. Anthony Fauci. The DOJ is accusing him of concealing records during investigations into the origins of COVID-19. Do you remember early on, it's 2020, it's 2021, even 2022, when all of us intelligent people, we were saying, that's a little bit weird. It seems like COVID came from this market. That's what they're saying in China, in Wuhan, right next to this virology lab, this bio lab, where they're engineering viruses just like a couple blocks away. That's a little bit weird. Fauci and the entire Biden administration said, nope, no, nothing to do with it. Gain of function research, nothing, nope. Most certainly we weren't funding it. This guy, according to the DOJ, David Morens, was helping to cover that up. Big time problem. Justin, Anthony Fauci, former senior advisor, we have a photo of him right there, has now been federally indicted on covering up crucial records related to investigations into the origin of COVID. Great. David Morens has been charged on conspiracy against the United States of America, destruction, alteration, or falsification of records in federal investigations, concealment, removal, or mutilation of records, aiding and abetting all of this. Trump acting Attorney General Todd Blanche says this: these allegations represent a profound abuse of trust at a time when the American people needed it most, during the height of a global pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, I've just got to say something real quick. Let me digress. Right now, we are doing our live broadcast here on YouTube, Rumble, and a website called Twitch. We are live right now on Twitch. In 2021, as all of this was happening, I was personally suspended for 7 days on Twitch, meaning they shut me down. They silenced me for 7 days because I said on Twitch in 2021 that this virus came from the Wuhan lab. In 2021, Twitch suspended me for 7 days for saying that. Well. Here we are 5 years later. And now we have the proof. And now, not just the proof, now we have federal indictments, federal criminal indictments going out to people that worked to cover that up. Well. We have a report breaking all of this down. Take a listen.
Former top advisor to Dr. Anthony Fauci now facing criminal charges. This over an alleged cover-up involving research into the origins of COVID. Rich Edson on this story. Intriguing, Rich. What you find out there in Washington?
Now, it is, Bill. The Justice Department has charged David Morens, a doctor, with conspiracy, claiming he concealed federal records to counter evidence that COVID-19 may have leaked from a lab in China, all to help restore a controversial coronavirus grant. Morens, a former aide to Dr. Anthony Fauci, testified before the House's COVID Select Subcommittee nearly 2 years ago about emails he'd sent in February 2021, claiming that he'd learned to make emails disappear after he received Freedom of Information Act requests.
Ever delete or attempt to delete a federal record?
No, but let me explain why. When I came there in 1998, we were instructed to delete emails or to move them into PST files frequently because they jammed the computer.
The Justice Department says Morens used his personal Gmail account to exchange non-public information. The indictment also claims an unnamed co-conspirator gave Morens wine for his, quote, behind-the-scenes shenanigans, then suggested he could push scientific commentary in a prominent medical journal advocating that COVID-19 had natural origins. That's a competing claim with the lab leak theory. The indictment says the co-conspirator could also provide meals at top restaurants in Paris, New York, and Washington, D.C. In April 2020, the NIH terminated that BAC coronavirus grant awarded to EcoHealth Alliance, who then contracted the Wuhan Institute of Virology to conduct that research in China. From the start of the pandemic, its president, Peter Daszak, worked to discredit any theory that COVID-19 had leaked from that lab.
Okay, all right.
They were trying to cover up their tracks because they knew Fauci and this individual here, who has now been federally criminal indicted, David Morens, they knew that they were the ones that funded this using U.S. taxpayer money secretly. They caused it. They created it, and then it leaked. Who knows? Maybe intentionally. I don't know. If it leaked intentionally or accidentally, who the hell knows? They made it, and now we know. They tried to cover it up. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you something here. I don't want to point fingers, but personally, I can't help but notice a certain timeline here. I've got something I want you to take a look at as a little bit of a recap here. Since stepping in as acting Attorney General just 26 days ago, replacing Pam Bondi, the former Attorney General, Todd Blanche and the DOJ under his leadership has now, just in less than a month, indicted the Southern Poverty Law Center for fraud and funding domestic terrorism, raided an alleged Somali-linked daycare fraud network in Minnesota just this morning, carrying out 24 individual raids, indicted one of Anthony Fauci's top COVID cover-up conspirators, and now this morning they have also indicted James Comey, as we talked about. Is it possible, folks, that Pam Bondi was a problem that she was preventing all of this justice from being dispensed? Well, I suppose we'll never know. Todd Blanche seems to be ripping it. Good for him. Keep in mind, Pam Bondi was fired for a reason. She wasn't fired for no reason. Trump saw fit to get rid of her about a month ago. Here's what I'll say. Todd Blanche, so far, it's been less than a month, is doing an absolutely phenomenal job. We have a photo of him right here. He's killing it. And you know what? Thank God. We need criminal accountability. We need justice, because it is time to put what? It is time to put America first.